buying all this Lysol. Which means it can't permanently contaminate objects or entire places the way anthrax and other virulent microorganisms can. So, and then it goes into some more stuff. Now, I ain't gonna be before you too long. I went on Amazon to see if I could get the book. That and another book of his, it was the only way I could find it. It was the two books sold together as a set of two. The other book, The Key of Midnight, by the same author. And guess what was the lowest price that it was offered at? $850. It says, and these are some of the comments, all the world's a stage. This guy is somehow connected to the ruling class. A similar book was written before the Oklahoma City bombing with the main character named Tom McVeigh, written by the governor's brother. Just like all the stuff warning about 9/11, these occultists seem to garner some kind of power from these rituals I've read by them disclosing hints before it actually takes place. Who the hell knows? This one is as spooky as the cartoon of Kobe Bryant dying in the helicopter crash before it happened as well. Then another person comments and says, the price is high because the price is expensive because it talks about the Wuhan virus. It probably turned into a collector's item. So it's also a way for them warning their own people, the people, and not all Esau, but those that are the movers and shakers and the families of such. They understand and know what's going on, and they know what to be prepared for. Let me get just a few more scriptures, and I'm going to wrap it up. Go to 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8.
Book of 1 Peter, chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.
He said, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, you cannot stop at just Satan. You have to remember who Satan's vessel is, who his primary chosen vessel is. Revelations 2 and 9. Yours truly. The devil, as Revelation speaks of, because the devil is, we always say a deceiver, but it's also a person or an entity that falsely accuses others. Right? He said the devil, whom a nation of people known as Edom are referenced as that same devil, that same red dragon, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. They know who's not prepared. This is a test. This is a rehearsal. You don't think that they're looking at the numbers? This is social engineering at its finest. They're looking at how you're going to react. They're looking and seeing how prepared or how ill prepared you are. That's what it is, because that's what you do when you know you got a fight coming. they're preparing themselves on multiple levels by sizing up their enemy. And here we are, a whole lot of us, even us knowing that we got an enemy, on a day-to-day basis don't even act like we got an enemy. We can't get caught up in personal quarrels. We can't get beyond our personal civic issues, I should say. We can't find a place to discipline ourselves to a point of doing things that Yatab said that we should be doing, which mind you, he's been an advocate for that for many, many years. Oh man, it's time to wake up. What you need to know more than anything else, next to the fact that's definitely a given but has to be said, to maintain your righteousness and maintain your faith, you better prepare for war. You better prepare for what's on the horizon, because that's exactly what this is. So when he spoke about bringing all of these things, simultaneously, he's telling you what your enemy's doing. Your enemy's getting ready. He never said that I was going to bring these plagues, and there's no way that they can come through your enemy. We have an enemy how many instances do we have of the so-called white man using biological warfare against us, using biological weapons against us? You gonna know when because it's all the Most High. Go real quick. Amos chapter 3 and verse 6. Now there are going to be plagues that's going to hit us quite soon enough, and those you going to know, all right, Esau didn't have no hand in this. Most High pulled this from, he pulled this from somewhere else. But mind you, it don't change, man. We gotta start preparing ourselves, man. Amos chapter 3 and verse 6.
Amos chapter 3 and verse 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city? And the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city?
What?
And the Lord hath not done it?
Come on. Nah, Esau did it. Yeah, Esau did it, but he, just like Satan in the book of Job, what did he have to do?
That's what I'm about to go into next.
Come on. Wake up. Man, the time is near. You got folks falling out of this faith, falling out of the truth. Now is the time to come as close as we can and begin to do what 2nd Esdras say. He said you got to put away the mortal thoughts. You got to put away the foolishness and the nonsense. We got to start really becoming what Ezekiel chapter 37 say. Y'all, they're going to raise as an exceeding great army. You can't be an army without discipline. You can't be an army without unity. You can't be an army without preparation and strategy. So we like the scriptures say, we ain't ignorant to them devices. That's all I wanted to say, Art.
And now from there, read on in verse 7. We weren't Amos.
Okay, let me get there because I had it on the phone.
Oh yeah, get Amos chapter 3, read verse 7.
Amos chapter 3 and verse 7. Surely the Lord God will do nothing.
Read.
But he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets.
Because the thing is understanding, with all these things that come, no matter if it comes from Esau, who does Esau work for? Work for Satan. Who does Satan work for? The Most High. So whatever it is that you see Esau, it's all from the Most High anyway. All he's doing is using Esau for what he made him for, and using Satan for what he made him for, to carry out the wickedness to be done in this world. So all he's doing is following the script. It's no different than with these things that come in the end days. It's no different than when you read the curse in Deuteronomy 28. What nation did he use to come upon us to carry forth the judgment that was to befall us with the curses? He used Esau. A nation shall come against thee from far, shall overtake thee, and thou shalt smite thee, and oppress thee only, and so on. Using Esau. So even then, for these things, it's still using Esau, but it's still all of the Most High. Were the curses not all of the Most High? But yet and still, Esau with the nation used to carry it forth. So even then, everybody's playing by the book. So it's no marvel or wonder why you see things and hints dropping in The Simpsons or whatever other show or books being written, because the elite get the inside scoop too. We get it from the Most High. They get it from Satan. Satan got power. Satan don't think Satan hand and shit. No, he got power over this world. I'll give you knowledge. I'll give you information. Them things is real. The occultism, all them things is real. But they just get it from a different end. They get it from Satan. So now, from there, I want you to get two things. Go ahead and get 1 Kings chapter 22. And then when you get 1 Samuel chapter 28. The 1 Kings chapter 22. And I want you to read verse 19 through 23. You got to remember how the Most High rolled. Get 1 Kings chapter 22, verse 19.
1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 19. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all of the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left.
So that means both the good angels and as well as the bad angels. So with the good spirits and the bad spirit, the ones he made to do wickedness and the ones he made to do righteousness. It was no different than with Satan. He's just the chief of the ones that he chose to do wickedly. That's it. So now, read on.
And the Lord said, Who shall preserve Ahab? Who shall persuade Ahab?
Come on, read.
That he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead.
So he was already prophesying that, hey, how are we going to put this man to death? That's it. Hey, I want to put him to death. How are we going to do it? You know, read on.
And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit, and stood before the Lord, and said, I will
remember, when it comes down to things, is you're still dealing with the spirit. If it's a spirit of envy, it's still a spirit. A spirit of lust is still a spirit. Whether it's a spirit of humility, you're still dealing with the spirit. All these things are spirits, and they all pass in and out of us all the time. They're spirits of influence. They're always around us. That's why you get so many things that play on the spirit, because anytime that, oh, snap, you just got a spirit of anger on him. Oh, snap, he got a spirit of jealousy. Oh, snap, he got a spirit of humility. He got a spirit of charity on him. You have something to say, Abishai?
Would you call it the personalities?
No, they're spirits of influence. You know, so those are things. And those spirits of influence can, you know, what you got something to say with that?
I would say this. Because you know that scripture that says, his spirit shall bear witness with our spirit, right? Mm-hmm. Then you got Ephesians 4 and 23 says, be ye renewed in the spirit of your mind. So your spirit is expressed, if you will, right, through your thoughts, which is indicative also of, you can call it personality at times, you can call it mood, you can call it emotions. But those are manifestations of that spirit. Now that spirit can be something that's within your own mind, or as my brother right here was saying, that spirit can be something that is not necessarily present at first within your own mind, but it's somewhere in your presence amongst either someone else or in something that happens that will cause you to react accordingly. That's the spirit world. That's because the thing is, when you went to the bootleg church and you're watching crazy movies, you know what I'm saying, and you know you're in the Catholic Church, they make the spiritual world. You think of the spiritual world as something that's supernatural to the point that you haven't really been able to correlate that with what you see in the real world. When in actuality, the spiritual world is every bit of everything that you go through on an everyday basis. Mm-hmm. All right? When somebody say you got a spirit on you, that means you're moving in a way that's not conducive, usually when they say that, to righteousness. You become, when somebody say you got Satan on you, Satan literally means adversary. That means you have an adverse spirit on you. Why are you against something that you should not be against? But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, not a problem. So yeah, I'm going to get a few of those too, that spirit, it enters into you. And that's one of the profound things when it comes down to Esau, he dealing under a different spirit. But I'm going to bring more of those things out. Continue reading in 1 Kings.
Verse 21. Or did I finish 20?
Yeah, verse 21.
And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him.
Read on.
And the Lord said unto him, wherewith?
So he's saying, well, look, what's your plan? What do you want to do? Read.
And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him, and prevail also. Go forth and do so.
So now, that was the plan of action. And that means that spirit was going to enter into those men that worked under him. That's all that happened. So when it comes down, when those orders to carry out those bad things come, it's going to come forth, but it's how the Most High is going to execute it. There's no different than get 1 Samuel chapter 28. Okay, 1 Samuel chapter 28. I want you to start with verse 3.
1 Samuel chapter 28, in verse 3. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him, and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land.
Because that's what you're dealing with, the necromancy. You know, those who call them familiar spirits to try to get that power, but not they're going through the Most High, but they're going to divination and working with Satan. So the Most High said, nah, don't allow the power of Satan for those things, and you deal with me, directly. You don't deal, with Satan. So that's why he doesn't deal with magic, witchcraft, and that's why he told us we can't deal with it. So now, skip down and read verse 5.
Verse 5, and when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled.
Read on down.
And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets.
So he didn't answer him by dreams, which is one way the Most High can talk to you. The Urim and the Thummim were our version of what, the world kind of played, like the crystal ball type thing. We had it to where we had a Urim and Thummim to be able to communicate with the Most High. So this was our way of being able to directly, our ornament to be able to talk to the Most High. The Urim and Thummim was the priest had. So that was our way to communicate. And then it also says if you didn't have that way, then you had the prophets. Most High, in this case, not only the prophet, but the seers, I would say. Later on, we were distinct prophet versus seer. But later on, it was a place to where, all right, just prophet when we deal with both. A prophet doesn't necessarily have to be a seer. A seer is one who is actively communicating with the Most High. Every prophet doesn't have to have that relationship with the Most High. That doesn't mean that, that's just indicative. That's an aspect of being a prophet. That's not the only thing.
Teach the prophecies and read the prophecies.
Exactly. This is prophesying anytime you're reading these scriptures. Doesn't necessarily mean that person was a seer. So that's where you read, and this person was a seer, and, another conversation. But in short, read on.
Then said Saul unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit.
So now he was looking, well, shoot, if I can't communicate this way, then I need to go the other way then. I need to go get someone with a familiar spirit, someone with some divination. Read.
That I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment. And he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he had cut off those that have familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land.
Start verse 11 now. Drop down.
Verse 11. Then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, bring me up Samuel.
So now, this situation where he said, well, look, I want to be able to talk to this person. You know, can you bring him up for me? He's like, well, who? Shoot, who do you want me to bring up? You know, so she was confident in her ability. You know, things of that nature. But let's see if she did it. Read on.
Can I say one quick thing?
Go ahead.
That's why you got to be careful not to get caught up in the foolishness. But you got to watch some of that stuff that Esau puts out there in the movies and television shows. You know, they'll have you believing that all of that stuff, the occult, Wiccans, magic, and all of that stuff is foolishness. But the scriptures say, I suffer not a witch to live. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? I'm just saying. Keep that in mind. Verse 12. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. Mm-hmm. And the king said unto her, be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth.
She said, well, look, who you got me calling up? Like, you call up someone normal. You got me calling up someone of relevance, you know? So that's what she said when she knew she was playing witchcraft and found out who she had summoned. It was like, you saw, like, I know who you are now. You came deceiving me, cloaked. I don't know who you are, you know, but who I summoned knows who you are, you know, in the situation where now I know you to be Saul. Read on.
And he said unto her, what form is he of? And she said, an old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel. And he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself.
Read verse 15.
And Samuel said to Saul, why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do.
Read verse 16.
Then said Samuel, wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy?
So now, the main point with this is knowing that these forces have power. Because you can see that a situation where the witch of Endor called forth, one of our forefathers called forth that prophet to be able to commune and speak, and yet and still he's able to, have that conversation. Because it's, once again, you tapping those powers. So when it comes down to witchcraft, divination, those things do have power. That's how you read it. So many people knew to getting possessed with devils and spirit, things of that nature. Those things are able to happen. So when you deal with the occultism and knowing of certain things that will fall in certain details, they get it from those entities. Go ahead.
Have you watched that show? I recently got put on it. Have you ever watched that show, The Originals?
I heard of it.
Seen that show?
I ain't started officially watching it yet, but it's on my list.
Man, Kahan told me about it. It's a series. Vampires, but it's vampires, witches, werewolves, right? On Netflix. Now, what's so crazy about it, it's so insightful. You got these vampires, right? The original vampires, the very first ones, and every other vampire was sired by these particular vampires. As long as these originals who are immortals, who are supposed to live forever, right, can't be killed, right? There's only select ways that you can kill them, right? As long as they live, then all of the rest of the vampires are able to live. If somehow, some way, that one gets taken out, then everybody that became a vampire through that, branch of vampirism, they all perish. Now, it's so much to it because you got these vampires and they've been living for 1,000 years. So they're great strategists. Now, mind you, what a vampire does, a vampire is of the darkness, right? They seem to be alive, but they're dead, right? They continue to live because they suck the life out of others. And they drink the blood. And the scriptures say where the life is in the blood. It's really just showing you the essence of Esau. Showing you how they're able to be immortal, not necessarily physically, but what they did was, you got to watch the show, they continue to make sure that they're well informed of everything that's happening and of what the history of everything is, and it gives them an advantage. Does that make sense? So now here we are, post-emancipation, right? Disconnected from the commonwealth of Israel, as the scriptures say, right? How much do we know? What knowledge and what's been passed down? What legacy has been given to us? But these Edomites, do you understand that their legacy has continued throughout this whole time? That they've been able to, in a sense, somewhat immortalize themselves, at least for a season, because they've been able to continue to transfer that spirit into their children and educate their children and keep their children informed, keep wealth and authority in order to be able to transfer it to their children. And you wonder why it seems that we're at such a disadvantage. I just want to bring that out, man. When you get a chance, man, look into that, man. Go ahead,
I just wanted to add, that's exactly how, like, the Rothschilds, all of them, man, they just pass it, and they don't care about putting in work so they die. They know they're going to pass it to their children, and they continue. Bilderbergs, all of them, they continue the legacy. That's how they maintain control of the earth.
Of the earth, man. And it's crazy because it's just tied into everything that's going on. I know IQ, Tob has brought it out quite frequently in the past, just, all the things and the aspects of witchcraft, the Wiccans, that stuff is alive. And the thing is, almost every bit of entertainment that you watch, whether it's sports entertainment, actors, whatever, music, all of that is immersed in witchcraft. Fashion, it's immersed in witchcraft. Here you are, you be like, man, we don't really be seeing none of that. We don't be dealing with none of that. Witches, I ain't never seen no witch. You walk by witches, you watching witches all the time. Dressing like witches, acting like witches, talking like witches. Witches and warlocks.
Come.
Man, and you dealing with a nation full of vampires. And they let you know when they can't go out in the sun, sun burn them up. Boy, that just be going over our heads. Yeah, but go ahead, Doc.
Nah, you're all right. Let's get 1 Samuel, chapter 16.
1 Samuel 16.
And let's start with chapter 13. Verse 13. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 13.
1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 13. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren.
That him being David, being anointed as king, read.
And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah.
So he put that spirit on to be anointed, even though he wasn't physically king as of yet. So he put that spirit that he will be. So now, read on.
But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul.
So the Spirit of the Lord, that righteous Spirit, came upon David. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and what spirit took his place? Read.
And an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him.
From who?
From the Lord troubled him.
So even then, the Most High removed his spirit, by his spirit being his righteous spirit, and then he gave him a new spirit, which was that evil spirit. So those spirits enter you, but the Most High has control over. I'm gonna put my good spirit on you.
Who that evil spirit come from?
Came from the Lord.
Not my Jesus.
Yup.
Not my God.
Because most people wouldn't believe that the Most High could put evil spirit on you. Because remember, as we brought out earlier, and as he brought out even still, in that Amos, hey, can evil be done in the city and the Lord have not done it? Most High behind all evil that happens. He's the orchestrator. He just chooses who carries it out. That's it. That's when he says, all good and evil is in my hands. I form the light and the dark. I work on both sides of the fence. It's just how I play it. And I use spirits to carry it out. On David, I put my good spirit. I said, no, let Gabriel and Raphael and all the good angels minister unto him. Oh, but Saul, nope, I'm removing my good spirit. I'm sending Satan, you go have him. Go ahead. All yours. So I was defending him. Nah, go run game. You can rest upon that one. So that spirit of influence couldn't shake it. That spirit of influence, he just couldn't shake it.
And that was after he made his choice.
Yep.
That's the thing. Most High said, I gave you a choice. Because some of us, we play that game. In the New Testament, it tells you how the Most High feel about that, saying that it's the Most High tempting you. He said, I ain't tempt you with nothing that ain't already in your spirit. You've been tempted to something that you got an issue fighting. So don't put that on me. Mm-hmm. Most High, he gave Saul an opportunity. Saul tried to be slick. He said, okay, now you chose to be disobedient. Now, okay, I ain't messing with you no more. So even with us, because we be like, well, the Most High, he already know. Whoa, you keep playing. Why don't you just go ahead and get the gun and put it to your head right now? Oh, but you got enough sense not to do that. What you mean? You got enough sense to choose righteousness. Moses says, I set before you, the Most High set before you life and death. But what did he say?
Choose life. And when you don't, that's when the Most High deliver you up to those spirits. It's fine. You don't want to deal with me? Then go deal with that then. See how that serve you. Let me get these other ones. Get Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1 and verse 13.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1 and verse 13. For God made not death, neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living.
So see that? Moses said, look, I didn't make these things. I said, choose life. Adam and Eve was immortal. They chose death. They were originally made to be immortal. They chose to die. I didn't put that on them. That was a judgment for their actions. God. No different than the whole thing with the flood. That was a judgment for the actions of the people then. Just like all the destruction, what the whole lake of fire about? It's a judgment for those who are sinning and have sinned in this day and age. God. These are just the consequences for your actions. That's all it is. That's how the Most High says it. It's, hey, I created balance. I made light and dark. It's order and chaos. If there's one, this is the flip side. If you do this. If you don't do this, then you ain't got to worry about it. But it's there if you so choose to partake of it. So now, continue on to verse 13, the other part of it.
Verse 13.
Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 13? Mm-hmm. You want it again?
Yeah.
For God made not death, neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living.
So the Most High, he doesn't have pleasure in putting people to death. He wants people to repent and get right. Just do the right thing. It's like the same thing for most of us parents. You don't desire to be out there, man, I can't wait to whoop on my kids today. No parent be like that unless you just wicked. You be in a place to where it's like, man, I don't want to get you, but you're not listening. That's how the Most High be. It's like, man, it was never my will to bring about the flood and all these other things. I was sorrowful to do it. But y'all wouldn't listen. Same thing, just like with Cain and Abel. Same thing, like, damn, I mean, what happened? Why is your brother's blood crying from the ground? Where's your brother? I'm I's keeper. How you gonna put that on me? Like, man, his blood crying from the ground. Yeah. You know, man, you gonna be cursed, and that's more than I can bear. That's how we be. That's just like kids. Well, I gotta get it so bad. It's like, well, look what you did. That was Cain and Moses. That's how the wicked be. It just, man, it's more than I can bear. What? Whoever find me gonna kill me. Hey, you did it. Like at the end of the day. And yet and still, that's why it says, weeping and gnashing of teeth when he's fall, because it's still yet and still. Old saying goes, hey, if can't do the time, don't do the crime, right? But yet and still, somehow, the whole dang world, for the most part, don't get that concept. Because we still out there fornicating, adulterating, and being greedy, and so on and so forth, to where it's like, well, the same thing we brought on Ezra, many shall know it and learn through death and pain. You know, because that's what it takes to get many people right. So you still got to do the time now. And that's going to be for life, but spiritual life, not just this flesh life. You got it, eternity. Think about it. He's going to lock you up in that lake of fire. Man. So we hope as many people get right as possible, man. So that's it. You got anything else?
I think it's
so. Well, that's it, man. You know, so just want to speak in the spirit of those things. I think I'll probably another day I'll look back on the other lesson I was going to do. You know, so but nevertheless, Israel, man. Hopefully,
it was much needed.
Yeah. Hopefully, y'all learn to wake up.
A lot of people was tuned in.
All praises, all praises.
Because of the coronavirus.
Yeah.